Here are 10 questions I get about consistency all the time in my everyday life. Number 1, why is it so hard for people to stay consistent? To tell you the truth, it's simply because you are not truly sick of your situation. When you feel comfortable in the place that you are in, you feel like you don't need to consistently do something like going to the gym or eating right. When you are not truly sick of the situation that you are in, it's very difficult for you to stay on track with your goals. You have to be very tired of being an average person. You must be so tired of your situation that you are willing to show up all the time for practice. This is a question I get a lot, especially in person. I am currently 7 months pregnant. I get questioned all the time. How do you consistently still go to the gym with 2 children and still find time for yourself, to go outside, to do things like hobbies? And my simple answer is consistency. I have already built consistency, and it's easy for me to show up for myself every day because I plan these activities. I have been able to build a relationship with myself through consistency and showing up. With this, I'm able to make these things easier. Being 7 months pregnant and being able to show up for the gym, I would say, is another form of discipline that I have learned in this season. Honestly, I'm very happy that I stuck to my strength training because I feel much better this pregnancy than my last 2. I feel much stronger. I feel more awake. I feel more capable because I still have all the muscle mass that I did not lose throughout my pregnancy from quitting strength training. Second question, what is the base of consistency? Consistency is about a self-reliance relationship. It's about not failing to show up rather than focusing on perfection. Building this relationship with yourself and being able to show up for the goals or the tasks that you have set out to do is mentally rewiring your systems, your beliefs, and this gives you the power to show up and be consistent every day. Consistency is rooted on a relationship with yourself because you are planning these activities and you are either failing or succeeding to show up. That's what I mean by a self-reliance relationship. You have only yourself to blame or to count on in this situation. And like I said, it's not about perfection, it's about incremental progress. Being able to wake up and even if you feel good or bad, making incremental progress towards that goal. Number 3, what do you do when you lose momentum? Ask yourself why you want to quit. When you can answer this question, then you can find ways to pivot around the situation and redesign your plan. Sometimes we are doing too much and that makes you want to quit. When you can answer to yourself why you want to quit, then ask yourself, how can I redesign this plan so it becomes more doable? Because consistency is about, like I said, showing up. It's about being able to do something every day towards your goal, whether it's perfect or not, whether you take a long time or not. And that is what consistency is about. It's not about putting the same amount of strength or effort into the activity every single day. That's not what consistency is about. Consistency is about being able to learn even the smallest thing in one day and being able to implement it the next, making small incremental progress in this way. Number 4 is a very interesting question I get a lot, and it is, what do I do to stay consistent? Personally, I don't overthink it. At this point in my life, I've been able to use consistency and cultivate a strong relationship with myself through consistency, and I'm very thankful for that. Through strength training, through baking, it's been over half a decade that I have done both. Being a mother, being able to make outdoors a priority and also take care of my appearance. I've been able to be consistent in many areas of my life because I have built that consistency relationship with myself. I have a truly strong self-reliance relationship with myself. So I keep it simple because I am not the type of person that likes to do intricate things to get a big goal done. I simply put it on a schedule and I use the power of consistency. I show up. Even if I'm just making one video one day and I used to make 3 videos in a day, or maybe if I'm just doing a smaller workout for arms one day because my shoulder is impinged and it hurts, I will show up to the gym anyways. I will show up to make content anyways. I will show up and do something rather than do nothing. And that builds a strong self-reliance relationship. That's what keeps me consistent in a lot of my goals and hobbies and just simply being able to stay on track. I also want to say follow your intuition. Not saying to be an emotional person when it comes to your goals, but especially as a woman, we have an intuition that tells us like, hey, you're doing too much. Hey, you're doing too little. And that little voice inside is always right. And being able to respect that honesty and listen to that small voice is truly important. I have had times where I've been overtraining in the gym. I have been baking too much. I have been taking on too many content creation projects and have felt burnt out. And I had to really listen to that small voice that was saying, you have to draw back a little bit because you are neglecting other places in your life that were here first and that are more important. Number 5, why is consistency important for anything at all? Why is it important for any skill? I feel like consistency is the most important skill that you need to achieve any goal. Not only are you building a relationship with yourself, but consistency is needed for practice. You need to be able to show up for practice every day or a few times a week to be able to progress in anything at all. So if you cannot stay consistent with that practice, whether it's perfect or not, you are not going to be able to get to any of the goals that you have set. That's why consistency is important. Number 6, what do you do if you don't have any consistency at all? This is very important if you are a beginner because you need a starting point. I would say ask these hard questions first. Why are you not truly being consistent in that activity that you're trying to do? Are you really sick of the situation that you are in? And are you willing to commit to a permanent change to fix that situation? When you have asked these 3 hard questions, that's when you can finally start implementing consistency. Because without this, you cannot. If you are not truly sick of your situation, if you don't know why you cannot stay consistent in, for example, the gym, if you are not willing to permanently commit to this change, then you cannot move forward. Consistency is rooted in these 3 hard questions. When you have answered these questions truthfully, you are going to be able to start using consistency to your advantage. Number 7, it's how can I build consistency? Consistency is built through showing up. It's not about perfection. It's not about intelligence. It's about being able to show up, especially on the days that you don't feel like it. So when you're sick, when you are hurt, when your head hurts, when you have some type of friction, show up that day. Show up that day, even if it's just for a little while. And you are going to be able to use that as reference for the future when you feel like you don't want to show up again. Because now you have shown up at a time where it was hard for you, and it will be easier for you to show up the next time. Number 8, how valuable is consistency? I feel like this is a skill that's very underlooked and a lot of people don't speak about. Everyone talks about intelligence but doesn't talk about consistency. You can be the smartest person in the world, but if you cannot show up for the tasks that you need to do, then you will not progress in your goals. Consistency is about showing up in the times where you feel weak and doing something rather than nothing. And you don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You just need to be a disciplined person, somebody that has made a commitment to themselves and that is following through with that commitment. Most people start an activity or a goal and they can do it until the dopamine wears off. After that dopamine wears off, they cannot consistently show up for themselves. The consistent person is the one that continues to show up even when there's no dopamine, even when there's no progress, even when there's no one there to clap their hands for them. They are showing up because they have built a self-reliance relationship with themselves. They know that they have set a goal and they need to get it done. Consistent people are solely relying on self-belief and time. They are not waiting for guarantees. They are not waiting to feel excited about a situation. They are simply setting a goal, sticking to it, and showing up every day, even when they don't feel like it. Another question that's probably very important, which is number 9, is when do you see results? I would say that you start to see results realistically in 6 months in any task that you do. That is enough time to make enough errors and correct them and continue on to make progress. Any time before that is a learning period. You are not going to see any results in the beginning because you are taking baby steps towards your goal. You're learning everything from the beginning, and it's unrealistic to think that you would see any results before a 6-month mark. And like I said, this gives you enough time to pivot and redesign your plan. If something feels like you're doing too much, if you're doing too little, you're going to find different humps along the way. You're going to create friction, and you're going to have to pivot and be able to do something different to be able to make it doable for you. Finally, number 10 is, how can I start being consistent? I have a complete, simple consistency guide for beginners on my channel that will give you a starting point for your journey. In short, if you are truly sick of your situation, if you know why you're not being consistent, if you are willing to commit to a permanent change in that regards, that's when you can start implementing consistency. Being able to use those 3 pillars is going to allow you to use consistency in your daily schedule. I will see you in my simple consistency guide for beginners.